Everybody knows what ayahuasca is, and 99% of those people are scared of ayahuasca. And let me tell you why. Now, simply put, ayahuasca is a Latin American plant-based medicine that's used in a lot of spiritual and healing processes. It contains DMT that induces very, very strong visions, results in emotional releases, and sometimes a lot of introspection. A lot of people have had life-changing experiences in ayahuasca, and actually people say that once you try ayahuasca, from that moment on, you will never be the same person again because your brain rewires itself. Generally, people say don't try ayahuasca by yourself at home, and it's only ingested in a ceremony that's led by a professional trained shaman. I, a few years back, wanted to travel to Peru with a friend of mine during my birthday and go through the ayahuasca experience, but for some reason it didn't work out. Last year sometime, the same friend called me and she said that there's a very private ayahuasca ceremony that's happening in Lonavala, and if I would like to try it. It was almost like I couldn't go to ayahuasca, but ayahuasca had come to me. And again, people tell you that only when the time is right and you have a calling will you actually get to the ceremony. And I absolutely jumped at it. Before you even go to the ceremony, there's a lot of preparation that you have to do to ingest the medicine, because the medicine, once it's taken, makes you actually purge and throw up a lot of your toxins. Not just physical toxins, but also emotional toxins. So at least 10 to 15 days before the ceremony, there are a lot of dietary restrictions. Like you can't have a lot of spices, you can't have caffeine, no alcohol, no great masalas, no onion, garlic, all of that. You don't get into any intimate situations with people. You try and meditate a lot. You're actually preparing yourself for the medicine. We went through all of that and then we reached Lonavala ready for the ceremony. The ceremony happens over 2 days and it's a 3-step process on each night. The first step is when they put eye drops that's called the sananga in your eyes. So basically what you do is you shut your eyes, the shaman will come and he will pour one drop of the sananga on each eye, and then you just have to quickly blink your eyes. The minute the drop enters your eye, it's like fires run through your eye. Your eye burns like it's going to literally fall out of your sockets. I can't even explain to you in words what it actually feels like. It's literally like your soul is being pulled out of your eyes. Let me set the scene for you actually before I go to the second step. We were about 8 or 9 people in the ceremony. The shaman was sitting diagonally opposite me, and opposite me there were about 5 men. Now I am not a very tall man, but these were like 6 feet plus men sitting opposite me, 5 of them, and then it was my turn. And then there were a few women who were here sitting on the side of me. Only my friend and myself were the first timers, or what they call ayahuasca virgins, at this ceremony. When the shaman started putting the sananga in people's eye drops, I could literally hear them scream in pain. And I am now questioning my decision. If these men who look literally like bulls, 6 feet bulls, are screaming in pain like 5-year-old children, what's going to happen to me? Anyways, the shaman reached me. I went through my experience, and it was, like I said, my soul burnt when he put those eye drops in my eye. And then he went to the other people. They also give you these small buckets personal buckets that you keep next to you. And every time you want to throw up, you bring the bucket up. They tell you not to go to the bucket because you might choke. You bring the bucket up to yourself, purge, and put it back down. The second step of the ceremony is when they give you something called hape. Now, hape is the way I understand it, it's the purest form of tobacco that's available, organic tobacco, but in its purest form. It's powdered and it's like a horn, a two-sided horn. So the shaman puts the hape on one side, the other side you put in your nostril, and then he blows into it. So all the hape reaches immediately to your third eye. By the time he had reached the third person, the first person was throwing up like a, I can't say it on camera, but was just throwing his lungs, intestines. I thought he was throwing his toes out through his mouth. And it's not just once. You can hear people just make these guttural sounds. And he was like, literally, I'm going to do it for you. It was like, "Wah!" It was literally, and you're hearing this in different voices. And I was like, okay, bad decision. Anyway, the shaman reached me and I looked at him and I said, please be gentle. He just smiled at me. And this is supposed to happen in both nostrils. So he blew the hape in my first nostril and I could feel my aura vibrate, and I've never felt energy like this ever in my body. If you've got an electric shock, multiply that by 1 million. It was like, and I couldn't control myself. He did it in the second nose, and I looked at him and I said, I don't know what to do. I was sitting with my legs folded down, and at one point, because I couldn't control myself, I have straightened both my legs and my whole body is now shivering. And all you can do at that point is you just start shaking your body because you don't know what to do with all of this energy. And something now started communicating with me immediately, saying, this is what energy feels like. You wanted to experience energy, but this is what true energy feels like. This is going to connect you to ayahuasca. And at one point, I looked at him. He had gone to somebody else. And I said, can I please stand? I can't control myself. And he said, do whatever you want. So I pushed myself against the wall and I have slowly climbed up the wall, and I still don't know what to do with myself. And then I slowly slid back down and I sat. Now, by now, everybody is throwing up, but I haven't thrown up yet. All I did was, because I could feel a little bit of the hape in my throat, I picked up my bucket and just spat it out, put it back down. But my whole body was now vibrating. Now, something again started telling me, move your body, Bhaav, just move your body. And then I felt my aura started to expand. Literally, like all the energy that was running through my aura is now expanding out. So I'm sitting in Lonavala and I can see this. I can see my aura move outside the villa that we were in. And then I saw it move to my house in Bombay. And I'm seeing all of this happen with my eyes open. Then I see my aura move to my mother's house, and my mother had passed away by then, but I saw her in her house sitting on the seat that she always sits on. She smiled and she looked at me, and we had a dialogue, but I didn't remember what the dialogue was. In an ayahuasca ceremony, on each night, you get 2 shots of ayahuasca. Everybody got up and went to the shaman, but because this surge of energy was so strong, I couldn't get up. So I just looked at him and I said, not going to happen. So he said, fine. He brought the ayahuasca to me and I had my first shot. The shaman tells you that if you feel like you want to lie down in the process, do whatever you want. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is, till the ceremony is over, after you ingest the ayahuasca, you do not get up and move out of the space, because they open a portal for energies in the ceremony. So energies are moving in and out while you're having these really, really strong visions. In my vision that night, I saw my partner who had passed away. I saw my dog, my pet, my daughter, Dory, and all they showed me was a burning house And they stood next to it and they were just smiling at me. I didn't know what that meant. Then I communicated with my grandmother, and it was quite an intense communication. That was the first night, but there were no great visions that people spoke about, and I was a little disappointed. We went through the second shot. I just lay down. I knew there was a lot of communication happening, which was not visual communication, but it was what you call claircognizance. My claircognizant ability had opened up where I was just receiving as a knowing. I knew what the communication was, but I couldn't see. But for me, that wasn't great because I wanted to see these visuals that everybody was talking about. I spoke to the shaman and he said that the first night of ayahuasca actually prepares you for the real experience. And I was like, okay, if that's what is going to happen. We went to the second night, and this was the time that most of the people told the shaman that they didn't want to try the hape this time around because it was too intense for them. One person actually left the ceremony because he couldn't handle how strong the hape and the ayahuasca experience was for him. Anyway, I was like, since I'm here, I might as well jump off the deep end. I wanted to try all of it. Now, on the second night, when we tried the sananga, I was expecting the same violent reaction from my body. But to my own surprise, there was no burning, there was nothing. It was literally like you put regular eye drops, and I was absolutely fine. Then came the time for hape that most people were scared of. This time around, when he blew the hape up my nostril, there was no reaction. It was literally like my energy and my aura had absorbed all of Hape's energy because it was conserving it for what was to come. Now, I want to tell you, when you're at these ceremonies, you know what's going on. I don't know how you know it. Your logical mind does not know. But the minute the Hape was blown into my nostril and nothing happened, I just knew that this energy is being conserved for the next experience. Now came the time for ayahuasca. I took my first shot of ayahuasca and I lay down, and this is when the actual experience began. Now, just so that I don't break your flow, at some point during this experience, I also got up and took my second shot, but I'm not going to explain that to you. It's an understood thing. I saw on my ayahuasca trip these visions, colors, and patterns being projected at me, and these colors like I've never seen before in my life. I also want to tell you that before I went to the ayahuasca trip, a few months earlier, I had gone to the Kamakhya Shaktipeeth temple. And when I went there, it's such a strong Shaktipeeth. I was like, okay, Kamakhya Devi is strong. She is associated with your root and sacral chakras. But I don't know why I haven't felt anything. Nothing happened to me. I was like, what's the purpose of me being here then if I'm not feeling anything? But I just let it be and I didn't say anything. Fast forward to my ayahuasca experience. I'm seeing all of these visuals and you lose track of time. You don't know how long it's been, but the entire ceremony lasts between 6 to 8 hours in the night. Now, I start seeing these very intricate Indian patterns being projected at me in all of these colors, and all I knew was this was all a representation of Devi. It's all dynamic and in motion as you're seeing it, and I started crying because I was so thankful at that time to be able to connect with this energy of the cosmos and being able to see all of this. And all I kept saying is, thank you so much for showing this to me. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Ma, for showing me these visions. And then during the ceremony, the shaman starts playing traditional Amazonian music. So they have these drums, they have these feathers, and it goes into a crescendo. Now, everything is simultaneous. It's not like one vision stops and then the next vision starts. So, while all of this is being projected at me, I now get a vision that I am at the altar standing with Devi, And this shaman is celebrating us with all of this euphoria and all of this energy. And you can hear like everything is amplified by 100. Now I look at Devi and I'm like, Ma, he's singing this for you. He's celebrating you. And she looked at me and she said, I know, but remember, today you will not purge by throwing up. I have chosen your other orifice. Exact words as I heard them. Today you will not purge by throwing up. I have chosen your other orifice. Now, during ayahuasca ceremonies, either you purge by throwing up or by going to the washroom and letting it all go. So I knew this was a direct command from Devi, and I said, okay. I lay back down and then I see the movement of a banyan tree's roots. Now, if you've seen banyan trees, you know that their roots hang, but I saw them move like DNA, and they were like DNA in motion, moving down with all of this happening at one time. Your sense of time and space is completely obliterated. So it's like this vast universe where everything can happen at the same time. So the effect is that much more amplified. While I was lying down, I bent my knees and I opened them like I was giving birth. I didn't know what I was giving birth to, but I didn't question. I just let it all happen. I lay to my side and I felt like throwing up, but I told myself, no. She's told me you can't throw up today. I will not throw up. I lay back here, I'm listening to the music, and then I heard a woman laughing very loudly. Now, I confirmed this with people at the ceremony the next day that nobody was laughing, but I could hear her laughing in joy really loudly. And I was like, okay, maybe Ma is laughing, she's having fun. And then, because of the crescendo of the music, I start, while I'm lying down, moving my hands and legs like I'm dancing. I turn to my side, there's a wall right next to me. I'm hitting the wall with my leg and I'm constantly dancing. Then I lay to the side, and before I knew, I realized that I was crying. And then Devi, Ma, tells me that you're holding on too tight. You need to let go, Bhaav. And I knew she was talking about my mother at that point, who had just passed away. I knew she was telling me that you need to let go of your mother now. It's time. I don't know how that made me feel. Honestly, I can't describe to you in words. But all I did was I just continued crying. And I just knew that she had told me this. And the other command was, you can't throw up. I don't know for how long this entire process went on. And then at one point, I couldn't take it anymore. So I got up and I sat. I saw a black panther walk next to me, and he wasn't looking at me. He was looking away from me, but I knew that he was like a dwarpal. He was like somebody who was protecting me in that moment. I turned and looked to the other side, and I saw a black shadowy figure sit next to me, and I knew that this was a boundary made for me. These two figures were protecting me, the Black Panther and this black man. At one point, I heard her tell me, and when I say her, I mean Devi, because this was a knowing. She told me, okay, it's time. And I was like, okay. And I hesitated, and she said, it's time now. And I knew what she meant. I got up, and even though the shaman had told us not to do this, but I didn't care because Devi trumps shaman. I got up, I walked into my room, I went straight into the bathroom, I sat, and I just let go. It was the time for me to now finally purge. Once I was done and I cleaned myself up, I stood up and I heard a very strong put. I heard this sound really strong in my head, and the next thing I knew, I completely collapsed on the ground and I think I passed out. I don't know how long it was for. The next thing I remember, I'm still lying on the floor. I open my eyes and I tell myself, Bhaav, your pants are still down. You need to pull them up. I pull my pants up and I pass out again. I'm still in the bathroom. The next thing I remember is now I'm sitting outside my bathroom by my bed. The shaman is this close to me and he's slapping me, and all I remember is the intensity in his eyes. He was staring right at me, and something about the focus in his eyes woke me up and brought me back to life, literally. There were four men with me who picked me up and put me on my bed and just kept asking me, "What is your name? What is your name?" And I said, "My name is Bhaav." Like a matter of fact. And I was like, why are they overreacting? I've just, maybe my BP fell and I just passed out. They seemed a little relaxed that I knew what I was talking about. And then after about 10 minutes, the shaman told me, okay, come back out and lie down. I got up, I went out, I went to my spot and I just lay down. I just knew that my body didn't have any energy at that point. But I lay down. There was this lady next to me who I didn't know, but she just came, she hugged me really tight and she said, "You're fine." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Means. And then I didn't make much of it. And at one point, I thought, I can't do more of this. I need to go back to my room and I just want to lie down. I literally had to hold the wall, climb up, go to my room, lay down on my bed. And that's when my friend entered the room. She held my hand. She was crying. And I just looked at her and said, "Can you just lie down next to me? Let's not." There was one more ceremony to be done after that. I said, "I don't have the energy for it. Can you just lie down next to me? I don't want to be alone." And she said, "Sure, let's do that." I lay down next to her and at some point, I passed out. I woke up the next morning and I was awake. She was sleeping. You know how in these Matrix movies, you experience a software reboot where you know something is starting? I literally felt like that was happening in my body. Now, I woke up with a lot of knowing. It was almost like another soul had walked into my body, and while I'm lying down and this process is happening over 2 hours, I can hear him say, "Oh, this is what it feels like to be inside this body. This is what this breath feels like. This is what it feels like to move these fingers." And I'm like, "Oh, he's teaching himself all of this." It's literally like I'm learning how it feels to be inside my body. After some time, somebody knocked on the door and somehow I gathered the energy to get up and open the door. And there was this lady standing. Then she looked at me and she said, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then she said, "Okay, well, I just wanted to come and check on you." I said, "Cool." I went back and lay down. And literally three other people came after that. My friend woke up. We needed to check out of the villa that day. So she started wrapping up. And then at one point, she left the room to get some water or something. And another man walked in, and I knew that he was one of the other four the previous night. And he walked in and said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm fine." I said, "Can you please tell me why everybody's asking me how I'm doing and why is everybody so concerned? What happened with me last night?" He looked at me and he said that at one point after you entered the room, we heard a really loud noise from your room, and the shaman got so scared and he ran out. Now, it's interesting to know that the shaman found me between my bed and the bathroom door, face down flat on the floor. The last thing I remember, I had passed out in the bathroom after pulling my pants up. When the shaman found me, I wasn't breathing, and he really freaked out because he tried to resuscitate me and I was just not there. He called these other guys in and he said, "I need you guys to come and help." He asked the women not to enter the room and they were trying to resuscitate me for at least 3 to 5 minutes. But I was clinically dead at that point. I just wasn't breathing. It's only, I think, when I opened my eyes and I looked into his eyes was the time that I had literally walked back into my body. Now, I woke up with two knowings. One was during this time, because Ma had told me I needed to let go, I went to a certain point to drop my mother and literally let go of her and say, "I can only walk this much with you, this much and no further. I'm going back." And the second thing I remember knowing was that Kamakhya Devi, when I visited her, she had tied me down to the physical realm from my root and my sacral chakras, knowing that I'm going to have this experience. And when I go to drop my mother, I'll find my way back to this dimension. I got up knowing this. I got up knowing this was the purpose of the experience. Even though most people at the ceremony were really scared because you don't expect anybody to die during the ceremony. For me, this was a very powerful experience that not many people have. My body didn't purge that day, but it had absorbed all of this energy for all of this exercise to happen. I also later decoded what the visual of the burning house and my partner and Dory being there meant for me. They were there to tell me the first day that you're going to be walking through fire. And because I associate them with my sense of home, safety, and security, they were there to tell me, you will walk through fire, but we are here, right here next to you. It's been a few months since I have tried ayahuasca, and I see the changes it has made in my own life, in my own thinking, and how my personality has changed. There was a certain clarity I got that night, and I wanted to set certain people and myself free from my own limited belief system. My body is still purging at a certain level, and I'm just allowing it to happen. Will I do ayahuasca again? I want to, but right now, I don't know the answer to that. Should you do ayahuasca at all? That's not a choice I can make for you. All I can tell you, it's an extremely intense experience, and you should only do it if you're truly ready to let the medicine into you and you're truly ready to let go and change certain parts of your life. And if you're truly ready to confront your shadows and your demons, because ayahuasca will definitely do that. I don't want to label it as a positive or a negative experience, but this is a blessed experience, and I don't know if many people have ever had this experience or if they ever will. So this was my experience of ayahuasca. Have you tried ayahuasca ever? If yes, please let me know what your experience was in the comments below. If you haven't tried ayahuasca, are you interested in trying it? Please let me know in the comments below.